All I'm, all I'm worried about is if you can hear me. All right,
Yeah.
I'll let folks in as we go. Unfortunately, I won't be able to see my beautiful face today. You just hear my wonderful voice. Hopefully, um, if my tablet begins to work at some point, maybe I'll just join from there. But for now, I'm just gonna have this just work out, and we do what we do. Um, so let's just do introductions. First, I want to just say it is Monday Night Chat 2 year birthday. Night Chat has been something I've been doing every Monday night for 2 years now. And it's crazy how I'm having all these technical difficulties for year two. But it's okay. It is what it is. Things happen and we move on. But again, tonight is Monday.
Oh, did we lose her?
And tonight we're gonna have a wonderful conversation.
Oh,
Hold on, love. Hold on,
We're gonna
love.
have a
That's
wonderful.
stuff you said we didn't hear.
Okay, don't worry about it. Just go with it. Don't tell me. Just go with it. Just go with it. Just go with it. Um. So again, tonight is Monday Night Chat with SK, and we're having a conversation about what women want. And the reason why I wanted to bring this conversation up is because we have um, this is Women's History Month, and it's all things women. And it is also the beginning of when I started Monday Night Chat, and so it's just a celebration of uh, our connection as women. And like I said in one of my posts, there's been a lot of speculation about what it is that women want. You see on the media, people are saying women want money. Women are uh, looking for money, or women want their bodies done, and women want this, and it's a lot of materialistic things. But I wanted us to have an organic and authentic conversation about some of the things that we really want to, like, what are our aspirations, what are our goals, what are our desires in life, and really share our authentic stories around this information. Um, so I want to first ask you guys to introduce yourselves. We're going to start this in alphabetical order. So that's Barbara, you're first.
How are you? I am Barbara. I am 42 years old. I am a social worker and psychotherapist. I'm also a mother of three. And I'm here to not only share from my perspective what a woman wants, but to hear, because I know women can be very different, to hear the different voices. I'm excited for this conversation.
Awesome. Next up,
Recording in progress.
whoever's next can go next.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we
Hi.
can.
Hello, I'm gonna speak up now because I have to jump in like 15 minutes. My baby is about to wake up. So, hi, I'm Janine. Janine Harwood. My friend Crystal on the line has invited me to this session, so I'm really happy to be here with you all today. I am a management consultant for one of the big four consulting companies, a big four accounting company, sorry, here in New York. I am a recent mom. I have a 4-month-old, and I will be returning to work from maternity leave on Monday. So I'm just like trying to, just balance life at this point, but at the same time, really looking to enjoy this conversation and just learn more about what you all said, like what women are wanting now and what we're trying to do in our lives to really, just maintain ourselves. So looking forward to the discussion. And thanks, Crystal, for inviting me.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Appreciate you.
All right. Crystal, are you next on the list?
It's funny because I thought about it. I'm like, am I next in line? And then did not think about the alphabet at all. So I apologize for not jumping in when I should have. My name is Crystal Paulin. I am a clarity coach. I am a CEO and founder of Granted Clarity Coaching and Consulting. And my focus is really on helping entrepreneurial women and solopreneurs step into their role of CEO of their lives and their businesses. So not just deciding to become an entrepreneur, but also like believing in becoming that entrepreneur and being able to lead in that way. And so that's where I've put a lot of my energy and time. And I'm excited to be here for this conversation. I will be honest, my first thought was like, I said, I kind of know what I want. I said, I don't know if I can speak for everybody else, but I can at least share from what the people that I've heard from and the stories that I hear and the conversations that I have regularly in the work that I'm doing and in the conversations I'm having with my girlfriends, of course. So I'm excited to hear kind of what we're collectively feeling and saying while we're in this room.
Awesome. Thank you, Crystal. I have two. I have Nicole and I have Swatina. So I think, Nicole, you're next.
Oh, right.
Wait, we forgot about Mara. She's M.
Mara? No. Go ahead.
Okay.
Nicole.
Hi, I'm Nicole. I've known Shimona for quite a few years now. We've known each other because we've advocated for charter schools together. And since then, it's definitely blossomed. I've learned a lot from her. And I'm here to chime in because God knows I'm trying to figure it out myself. I'm looking at that question, what do we really want? It's like, you know what? That's a really good freaking question. Because there's so many avenues. So I'm very interested to see what avenues we take here.
Awesome. Thank you, Nicole. And Swatina.
Hi, I'm Sweetina Kakar. I'm a journalist and a life coach. It's a little new for me, so I'm really excited to step into that role.
Okay.
And I feel all of you, like especially the whole, I can tell you what I think, but I don't feel comfortable talking about all of the women, but out of all the conversations we've had, with our girlfriends and, just listening to what, social media and all of that, you kind of have an idea of what people think. And also really funny about what do I really want? My partner was like, I can't wait to hear that answer from you because it's always so unclear. So yeah, really excited to unravel some of these questions and hear from all you lovely ladies.
Awesome. Thank you, Swatina. And Mara, I heard you were on. If you would like to introduce yourself and share with us who you are and what you're up to, we're open to hearing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My name is Mara. I am a medical social worker. Happy Social Work Month, Barbara. I primarily work with my patient population are folks that are on Medicaid. I live out in California, so they call it Medi-Cal. And just connecting them to resources and helping to navigate our crazy healthcare system. I am also a mental health therapist. I've been in practice for about 3-4 years now. And that has been an awesome, challenging, scary, exciting journey. Going from social work to becoming a mental health therapist. And Crystal invited me, of course, that's my girl. And I'll show up anytime she calls. And one of my motivations being here is honestly the sisterhood. I love coming to these chats. I know I come in kind of infrequently, but every time I've come to one of your chats, Shimona, I always walk away with something, just learning new about myself, learning new about other women around me. So I do appreciate your platform so much.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you. And thank you for that. So I want to say, did everybody speak that wanted to share? Keisha, I think my sister's on too. Keisha, you want to introduce yourself?
I don't see her.
She's not on anymore. Okay, that's cool. All right. So I heard all of you say, well, I just hear about all women. Y'all remember that Whitney Houston song, Chaka Khan song, I'm Every Woman? The reality is, although we may not think that our experience is every woman, there are some women that has had your experience. And when you share, you build connection, you create a safe space for them. So be authentic and sharing what your experience is, because you may be speaking about thousands of women who have those same experiences, who have those same aspirations, who have those same desires, and probably haven't even really realized, you know what, that is what I want. So be organic, be authentic, and don't worry about, if it's the popular thing or if it's something that you don't want to misrepresent any woman or any group, because the reality is there are women that can be connected to your experience and your story. Right. So I want y'all to take that perspective and throw it in the garbage. Because I guarantee you there are plenty of women that have those same experiences as you all. So I'm going to be honest with y'all. I have no idea where my questions are, right? I gave them to y'all. But I tell people all the time, don't be committed to this organized perspective of Monday Night Chat. It just doesn't go down like that. I'm sorry. But no, I'm just kidding. I think they're in here somewhere. I gotta go. I have them on my my computer. But the first question I want to ask is if you could just describe yourself in one word. And I'm talking to the panelists right now, and then I'll get into Mara and the other young lady that spoke. I wanna, and Sweetine, I'm gonna start with you because I'm seeing your face. Sorry, I'm seeing your face right now on my screen. If you could describe yourself in one word, what would that word be?
Oh, that was so hard. I was thinking about that on my way back home. I saw your questions, and I was talking to my partner, and I really appreciated his outlook because it was one of the words that came up for me too, which was compassionate. And how that really does weave into the way that I live, about really being caring of other people. So that's kind of my forefront. My true nature is to constantly care about others, and especially the ones that are close to me. So compassionate was pretty true.
Yeah, I think that's spot on too. Being someone that's been in the room with you in your most vulnerable state and seeing that about you, you're absolutely right. Well, good. And I'm glad that you have that connection with your partner where you guys see you in the same view, right? Like that's interesting. Because a lot of times that's a healthy relationship, right? Where you can see, where you can mirror your perspectives. That's awesome. Barbara, in one word, describe yourself.
So I was running from this word, but I asked a few people and I kept getting the same word. So I'm just gonna go with resilient. I think that everything that I have been through has brought me to being the woman that I am today. And so I don't regret any of the things that I have been through. I think like they helped build my character. They gave me experience. And so I'm gonna go with resilient.
Resilient. I like that. All right. Nicole, one word, describe yourself.
I went with loyal.
Okay.
I don't usually let people come into my life, but when I do let you in my life, that's it. You're in my pocket. You need me 3 o'clock in the morning. I am that loyal that wherever the hell you at, I don't care. Just let me know you good so I can get to you. So I would say very loyal.
Loyal. Okay. And Crystal, one word.
So Crystal did not get to the notes before we got here, so I'm really in the same place. So I've been working on shadow words. And so what's coming up for me is that I would describe myself as doubtful. And when I say that, I think about how, because I'm always looking at things through an air of doubt, that I tend to be very questioning in my approach, which I think allows me to ask of people for more detail, right? In order to kind of gather more intel, gather more information. And so I haven't figured out the other word, like the other side of that, but maybe inquisitive would be like the positive spin on it. But I would say, just based on what I've been working through, doubtful, but from the perspective of like, it just means that I'm more curious and I'm like doing a lot of intensive research when it comes to whatever it is, for myself, for things around me, for people around me, that there's a level of doubt in that shadow.
Got you. And I'm going to challenge that. that doubtful is negative. Something we've all learned in the room is that these words and these things that we think about are just feedback, right? And feedback is only given a charge by us. The negative or the positive comes from us. So if you see that doubtfulness as negative, then it's going to be negative. But if you see it as something that is positive or something that helps you grow or helps you stay grounded or keeps you safe, then it's not a negative, right? So, but I appreciate that. I appreciate the spin in the extra word to couple with it to get the point across. But thank you so much. So again, like I said, there's this perspective about what it is that women want. And when I was doing the research, every time I typed in, what do women want? What are some things that women want? Or try to get some research around this. Everything that kept coming up was about relationships, about romance, about sex. And it's like, although women desire those things, that is not the only thing we think about and want, right? We want careers, we want experiences, we want connection, we want good health. We want so many different things. And so if you could talk to me a little bit about what are some of the myths that you heard about women that you don't agree with in regards to what we want. What are some of the myths that you've heard? And anyone could jump in.
I can go first. So I was thinking about a few things, and some of the words that popped up were want to be controlled, or be the person that follows, and like submissive. Those are, and I think that it's just a shift of actually seeing what women want. Women want to feel in their own instead of feeling like they have to, you can follow someone and have that choice to do that, and have someone and you can choose to lead instead of feeling like someone is making you follow. Like there's a dynamic there that I think needs to change in when we talk about femininity and masculinity and what the power of each is. And I know I'm jumping ahead, but one of the words for me that we could discuss was like control and submissiveness and or wanting a family and kids. While that's true for me, I know plenty of women who don't want that. Where it's like, well, you need to have, be in a relationship and go have children and, be the second class citizen in that relationship. And that's what I feel like society has boxed women into, that I don't believe most women don't want that.
Right.
That's a very huge myth.
Yeah, it's almost like they have this perspective of like women aren't complete if they don't have these things. If you don't have a husband, you're not complete. If you don't have children, you're not complete. If you don't want these things, then you're a non-traditional woman. And, and it's not fair. For one, it's not fair.
You don't want to get married. You don't want to have a big wedding. Like things like the thing, I get looked at all the time. Like, you don't want to have a whole big wedding party. I'm like, no, not really. And it's like, what's this, ideology that women want all of the shiny, pretty, useless things, right?
Yeah. Anybody can chime in on that. How's everyone else feeling about that perspective or that myth that women want to be controlled or want or need to be submissive, or that gender role for us? Like, how's everybody else feeling about that myth? Anyone can jump in.
I'll speak to that. I think that it has a lot to do with who you are, what your values are, and what your past experiences are. Sometimes we figure out what we want along the way. As women, we reserve the right to change what we want along our journey, right? And so I think now, being at the age where I am, and I've always been the person who is handling everything, taking care of everything. Like, that's what is attached to my name. I'm very good with having a partner who wants to lead and take care of those things, but it has to be somebody that I can trust your leadership, right? It has to be somebody that I am very comfortable with understanding. Like, if I decide, like, if it's my choice to submit to this person, I trust this person's leadership, and I trust that in my submitting to this person, they are going to always take what I want and need into consideration, right? I think, like, for me as a woman, I desire to be covered, and that's a word that we can get into. I don't want to go deep into it, but like, if you know, you know, right? I want to be covered. I want to be like feeling security. Like, I think that it's really based on where you have been. If you have been a woman who has had that, you may not even know that you want that because you've been having it, right? But a person who may not have been having certain things, they will be the ones that would want those things. So I think, like, it really depends on you and who you are. And also, like, where you are in your journey, right? When I was myself 20 years ago, I wasn't wanting the same things, right?
And then you have different experiences, or you experience something and you realize, okay, this wasn't, I think at certain point in my life, I started to realize that the things that I was thinking about myself, or the things that I was wanting or was trying to aspire to, weren't my own thoughts, weren't my own dreams and aspirations. It was what was planted in me, what I was programmed to believe that I wanted. And I was just operating on that information. But then when I started to do self-inventory and realize, okay, that's not my thought. That's not what I want. This is what I actually want. Right. And it empowered me as a woman to now transition and shift my life in the direction I wanted to go, even if it wasn't popular to my environment. You get what I'm saying? So, anyone else want to share, like, what myths are there out there about what women want that they don't agree with? Anyone could
chime in. I want to piggyback up what Barbara was saying. The first thing that came to my mind is, and I think every woman, regardless to where she's been, safety. If we have safety, we can be this gentle little schoolgirl feminine. We don't have to worry about the masculinity, and I want to jump a little too far ahead. But I think safety is a very, very important, just as much as love, just as much as honesty, just as much as respect, because all those things come when you got safety.
Okay.
I want to add to both of their points really quickly about how we sometimes, like, when we hear these things and they're just words that are feedback, but society has made them seem like they're not as equal to the person providing safety and to the person leading, when they hold 50% of the weight in what either it be in a, like, romantic relationship, either it be in a friendship, either it be in a familial relationship. The person who chooses to submit doesn't necessarily mean under, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean second. It's just as important to the person that's leading. And I think that's the myth. That's the myth of not understanding how they both have equal weight, even though the words, the connotations of these words are negative. That doesn't mean that they are, or that they're less than.
Right.
And if I can just,
yeah, sure. No, definitely.
Wanted to add one. I just wanted to add something. So, as I hear the word submit, and just the conversation right now around, like, submission and all that, for myself, in marrying my husband, we both made the decision that this word submit and submission was just going to create arguments. So it was more of, it just became a thing. And it was one day that we were listening to a sermon, and it was literally, like, coming up on our marriage and our wedding. And it made sense to us that it's not so much the word submit, or that you're doing that's what you're doing, like, in a relationship, in a marriage, or whatever the case is, but you're submitting to the mission that you both set for yourselves, for your relationship. And I think that has been, like, the core to a lot of what we do in our relationship, primarily because we're two different people, and individuals are just evolving every day, right? Like, just even bringing it now back to just you as a woman, like, you evolve every single day. You are not the same person you were 3-4 years ago. So that being said, it's like you're setting new goals, new missions, new things for your lives. So you're having to, come to an agreement with who you're sharing that time and that life with, as a way to just say, okay, how are we both going to work towards this mission, and let's submit to it, versus, hey, I'm going to submit to you and you're going to lead me the entire way all the time. Like it doesn't happen that way, just because roles change, things change in life. So yeah, that's what I wanted to add.
I really like that. Submit to the mission. I know that's right. Because what are you submitting to? Are you submitting to a person? Are you submitting to the partnership? Right. Are you submitting to, like you said, the mission? So that's amazing. I like that. You better coin that, girl. Hashtag it somewhere.
That reminded me something of someone, a married man once told me about him and his wife, about how they're 100% together, in the sense that everyone's like, you got to give your 100%, but when your 100% is 50% in the relationship. But he told me, because there's never 50-50. There's times that it's 50-50, but there's some days that she'll carry me and she'll be 80 and I'll be 20. And there were times that I carried her and I was 90 and she was 10. And we both just made sure that we both made 100 towards what I guess would be the mission, would be the partnership, would be, I have you and you have me. And some days it's not going to be, equal in that sense. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know we're talking a lot about submission, but I want us to open up a little bit about, as, we talk about we talk about relationships, and like I said before, like having a family and getting married has been these things that are like gender normed and like assigned to us based on our gender when we were born. Okay, yay, it's a girl. And the first thing on people's mind is when she's gonna get married and when she's gonna have babies. And the baby just got here, the baby 2 days old. And they're already
we're pairing them all.
You know what I'm saying? But when we think about it, I think that a lot of us prematurely transitioned into this ideal and didn't even know who we were as women, just as an existence of a woman, our essence, to the point that when we got in these set relationships, what were we bringing to the relationship? Were we just kind of like simulating to what we believe, or mimicking what we saw other women do? Did we really understand our essence as women, our own individual selves, before we started to transition into this feminine role of partner, wife, mother, and all these things? Do you all feel like you've had a sense of your individual role, or I don't even want to say role, or you're just your essence of a woman before you were just put into these groups of feminine expectation?
I don't think it was I don't think there was any space for it. The same way we talk about kids, as soon as they come out and we're like, okay, I got a plan for you, right? Like there's no time for you to come to the knowledge and existence of who you are. And because that's something that's constantly changing and you're growing in the process of finding out who you are, and that person's continuously growing, there isn't that time for you to identify on what type of woman you want to be, until there's a moment where you can find this gap of time to be like, oh, this is who I am and this is what I like, right? And going back to what we were saying before about like the myths that exist, I'm going to take it back to the first thing you said, which was that when you look in the research, you started searching like, what is the definition of this? And what came up was relationships and romance. I also kind of tap back to, me and Mara do the Bridgerton podcast. So like, it's always going to come back to like this romance genre for me. But that is one of the major genres that exist in fiction writing. And the reason is because there's this illusion that we have over here that we are being given, that everyone wants that, right? And in this version of it, everything works out very well. Everything is perfect in this version. And then we get to real life and we're just like, this is not happening the same way.
The frog is not turning into a prince.
It's not. He's slimy and gross. Oh, so and so there's this piece of not being given the space, but then also being given the rules. And so even in this, I'm going to keep the Bridgerton example only because I enjoy it so much, and that comes from acknowledging like what brings me joy in my own life. One thing that I thought was really good about one of the characters that she mentioned, she's just like, I serve no purpose if I'm not married and bearing children. Like she was able to acknowledge, she's just like, in this existence and in this society, I'm looked at as someone that's going to bear children for my husband. I'm supposed to bear an heir for my husband, which means that I should not be having girls, but I should be having boys, right? And so there's that part of like when you're trying to decide who your kid is going to be, there's this level of expectation, which I think is shifting slightly now as our timeline shifts, right? And I love spaces when you can talk to people that are Gen Z, Gen X, and millennials. You can see how that line is shifting, right? Where the expectations are shifting and the choice and the desire to try to be a little bit more hands off, right? In order to let someone kind of develop and become who you want, like who they want to be. It's starting, but it's still hard, right? We're still in that transition space. And so I think when it comes to that myth piece, it's this idea that one, that women want to do it all, right? Like this whole like, I'm about to INDE. Anyway, so independent, right? There's this idea that we all want to be independent, but I think there's this misconception that that means that I want to do everything, right? That I want to bear your children, care for your children, mow the lawn, paint the house, go to work, get the groceries, cook the meal, and then rub your feet. Like there's this misconception about what that means. And I think when we start defining it, we realize that there are too many definitions and therefore nobody matches up.
Right. And then you have these podcasters that I don't watch them. I just see all the memes and TikToks of these podcasters telling us who we should be as women. Oh, if a woman don't cook, she blah, 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 blah. Don't a man want a woman that don't cook? Or if a woman ain't out here got dreams and goals and aspirations and da, da, da. Or if a woman doesn't know what she wants, or if she's seeing multiple men and that. And it's all these perspectives on what we should be doing, how we should be doing it. And then it's like it's a distraction, because then we start attacking each other.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, they're right. You're not supposed to be doing that. Or you supposed to be doing this, or and we attack each other in our own subculture. We take these ideals from other cultures, of other subcultures, and then we attack each other on top of the subcultures within our culture, like Christian, like religion, and just family dynamics. We have all this feedback and information and rules, like Crystal said, that are distracting us from finding our true essence as women. Who am I without all of these things and titles and people and connections? So, like, really think about that. Who am I? Who am I as a woman without that? And I think that now in our society, where this is a real big push on self-identity, right? Where people are identifying as saying, you know what, I don't even assign to being a woman anymore. I'm non-binary or whatever. Is because we've been, I want to say from my perspective, I don't know anybody's experience, but from my perspective, I think that happened because there was such a push on gender norms that once you assign yourself as a woman, there are all these expectations of you.
Yeah, I think it's really important. Like, we can't have this conversation without talking about double standards, especially if you touched upon, trying to figure out who you are as an essence of a woman. We weren't given that grace growing up. If you wanted to meet a whole bunch of people, if you wanted to, figure out your sexuality, if you wanted to figure out what you wanted to do, it was like, how do you not know this already? We come into this world as if we already have our answers. We are not given the grace to explore the way that the men may do, or, anyone who's perceived to be a man has in this world, where they can make all the mistakes, not know the answers, and still be successful, still be seen as, a good, or, or even praised for, he's just figuring it out. Boys are being boys. Where women didn't have that. Girls didn't have that. It's like, oh, no, girls can't do this. You can't horse around or play around. You need to be polite. You need to be soft. You need to be hidden. Especially from my experience, being raised in a household full of men, the double standards was extremely clear. And with my background, with being South Asian, you see that all the time, how different both genders are treated, and how women are always put in a rigid box of you need to know this and you need to have your answers. And so I don't think women were given the chance to know their essence until they got older, until they were like, I am no longer a part of, you know, whatever society wants me to be, until they get tired and they go, who am I? Like for me, I could say I feel like my mom, who's now in her 50s, late 50s, is learning who she is today, not in the last 50 years of her life. She's finally going, who am I? And I'm watching that, and it's beautiful. But I'm like, Ma, you took way too long to figure this out. You only got another 20, 30 years left, unfortunately.
Yeah, but there's a lot more freedom to do so now, right? Now there's the stronghold on just individuals in general, but now the stronghold on women. Women are being more expressive. Yes, we're still being ridiculed for it. Yes, we're still attacking each other because of it. And do I agree with everything that everyone does? No, I don't care if you're a man, woman, cat, dog, or whatever. I don't agree with everything that everyone does. But do I feel like people shouldn't have the space to just create and learn who they are? It's because sometimes we look at people doing a certain thing at a certain time, and we just decide that that's who they're going to be forever. You don't know if that person is going to transcend or learn or grow in the next 5-10 years. We don't know where they're going to be. And so I allow people to be expressive. And yes, we all have those values, those biases, those implicit biases within us that either have us make a statement or feel a way or have a judgment about someone. Listen, nobody's perfect, and we're gonna have them. Just acknowledge them and be like, you know what? That's an implicit bias. I'm being a little biased here. You don't have to say it out loud and embarrass yourself, but just acknowledge it to yourself. But I want to hear a little bit more from Nicole and Barbara. What do you guys feel about myths around women, and and Nicole in particular, what is your perspective around some of the myths that you've heard or that you have experienced yourself in your culture?
Well, being Puerto Rican is quite interesting. I'm listening to you ladies speak, and wow, thank you, because you're making me think about so many things. And I've said this before to my mom, what I'm about to say to you ladies, and she looked at me, she says, oh my God, yes. I said, thank God, as being Puerto Rican, we don't have arranged marriages, because I could have been married off by 10. I already had my menstrual. I was cooking, cleaning, groceries, laundry, 4 or 5 flights of steps because we lived on the 2nd floor or the 4th floor when we moved, or the 3rd floor. You know what I mean? Like there were just so many things that, as my first serious relationship, I was a stepmom at 19 of 2 freaking kids, 3-month-old and a 1.5-year-old. Matter of fact, no, I wasn't even 19 yet. My month before my 19th birthday. So moved out, and this is what I'm moving into. You know what I mean? So yeah. And I feel like I was groomed into that. So for me, that was the way to go. How about that? Because to me, that's the norm. That's what I was created to do, made to do, trained to do. Like I said, I could have been married off at 10. So like literally, I knew it all. I did everything. And it didn't matter. I was babysitting kids at 7 by myself, nobody in the house. You know how many times I drowned my freaking cousins?
And you know what? I want to bring up too, right? And you triggered a thought in me. So you said you were doing all these domesticated activities that, you know, is considered the role of a wife. But I think
Of a
there's
female, period.
A female, period, right? But I think there's a key element that's missing and why a lot of relationships don't last. Because that is not all that's needed to have a lasting and healthy relationship, right? You can be the best cleaner, the best cooker, the best lover, all of that, and still have your spouse leave or cheat
divorced
or get divorced, right? And I've never been married. But I study human beings a lot, and I've made enough mistakes to have the cliff notes on what not to do, right? And what I think that's missing in a lot of these situations are building connection, knowing who you are, being able to communicate. Communication is the biggest lack in a lot of relationships. Communicating your feelings, being able to be wrong, staying hurt, but knowing how to communicate what it is that you need to feel better, right? A lot of people are reactive in relationships, right? And all of these things are tools and skills and characteristics you need that doesn't require you to know how to cook, that doesn't require you to know how to make a bed, that doesn't require you to know how to care for a child. That a lot of people, like I said, that have that domestic skill don't have that other skill that's needed to build bonds and relationships that don't even require you to be a man or a woman, right? And so when we're talking about women and what women want and just our essence, it's a complex. It's more than these things. We're more than just bearing children. We're more than just being able to cook and clean. We're more than just being able to do all those things, because we also have a nurturing part of us that not only nurtures the husband and the wife, I mean the kids, but we have to learn to nurture ourselves. We have to know how to nurture relationships, being able to communicate needs, being vulnerable and saying what we need, you know, without fear, and being courageous and bold and saying, you know what, whereas this is our relationship, I don't want to assign myself to those duties. Yes, I may be the one that have the children, but you can also care for the children. You know, yes, I may be able to cook, but you can also make a meal. If you don't know how to cook, take some classes. You know, it's like building that relationship that not so much as having this equal, but be communicating what you need, because maybe cooking every day is not what you want to do.
The issue with that, Shamona, is like, in order to have like healthy relationships, whether it be romantic or otherwise, you got to have a relationship with yourself, right?
Absolutely.
If you can't communicate effectively if you haven't learned what is your strongest way of communicating. You can't effectively have disagreement and overcome it if you don't understand, when I'm in disagreement, this is what I need. I need space, or I need to be able to do this. If we don't know ourselves, we can't successfully have healthy relationships with other people, right?
Right.
So I think one of the things that we should take away from this is that as women who have gotten to like the other side of this hump, most of us, right? Who, I think you're learning yourself until the day that you die, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're learning yourself until the day that I die. I might be this way on Monday, but on Wednesday, I might be something different, right? And I am learning that about myself. But one of the things I try to do is I try to take that knowledge and teach like the ones behind me, right? Not just my daughter, but like I'm around her friends, and I'm having these conversations because nobody had those conversations with me, which is why I made the mistakes that I made, right?
Absolutely.
I grew up in a very like religious setting, and I thought whatever was taught to me was what it was. So after dating somebody for 7 years, I'm like, all right, I am not comfortable with where we are, but we've been in this for 7 years. I'm supposed to get married. That's next. Okay.
Right.
I get married. I'm supposed to have kids right away because that's what they do. And if you notice, like in our culture, that's what they're undertones. When somebody gets married, like, okay, when is the baby?
When is the babies coming?
You have to do it that way. Who says you have to? And that is why.
Or when you have the babies before the husband, there's
Right.
also conversation.
Right.
Mhm.
Like, and the thing is, like, that is why when things don't happen the way we expect or we planned, we feel like failures as women because of what society tells us we should be doing. That is why if we're told we can't have children, we feel inadequate because we feel like we are not actual women who have arrived if we can't do the things that society says a woman needs to do. So for me, it is huge for me to like continue to teach younger women behind us, explaining to them that you need to work on figuring out who you are. Like when these, as a school social worker too, like when these young kids come and tell me, oh, this is happening, that is happening in a relationship, sometimes we like to invalidate because we feel like you're young, you don't know nothing, what are you doing in a relationship? But I ask them the questions like, well, what do you want? What works for you? Who are you in this? And they're figuring that out. And sometimes you have to stumble to figure that out. You have to like be in something that's not for you to figure out this is not for me and this is not what I want. But we don't leave the space for that, right? And then we can't condemn them when they make a mistake, right? Because the best way to figure out who you are is by making the mistakes. A lot of the ways that we figure out what is right for us is by doing it the wrong way first and realizing this doesn't feel right. So if we're condemning them, right, then they're not feeling comfortable to come and talk to us. They're not feeling safe to come and talk to us. And so I think like that's a huge thing that I take away. Like that's a responsibility that I feel like every woman should have, is to teach other women.
Absolutely. And I was going to say that I was like, you know, a lot of times when we think about growth and we think about sharing knowledge, we think of the youth. Oh, we need to teach them what we didn't know and have them learn. But I beg to say that we also need to also have those authentic conversations with women who came before us, right? Those aunties and those mothers and grandmothers who still have those implicit biases that don't serve us or them, and because they're communicating that. That's how the generational curses continue. That's how the trauma continues, because now you come in the room with your elder and they're spitting out that same rhetoric. Oh, when you gonna get married? When you gonna have baby? When you gonna do this? When you gonna do that? And it further, it like re-traumatizes us even in our growth time, right? Even though we've learned different language, even though we've learned a different perspective, if we don't continue to, not only the youth, but our elders and women who came before us, have those conversations and have them learn something new as well, we're gonna, it's almost like, yeah, the young women are coming up, but they're still coming up against this restriction or this pushback from women they either respect or looking to follow. You understand? So I beg us to also find spaces where we can educate our elders as well. So thank you, Barbara, for that. And yeah, it's, you know, I feel like personally, like you said, we are learning and growing every day. I'm still, like, every day I'm learning something new about myself, and challenging myself to find this space to learn. But I love everything that everyone said here tonight, and just the conversation. But I want to ask, is there something that, and this is to everyone, guests and presenters, is there something that you want to share? Is there a message that you want to share about this conversation that we might not have touched it tonight, about what it is that women want? Anyone?
I have one. Okay. So I went to a vision board brunch. I spoke to a group of women there earlier last month. And the overarching sentiment from everyone, the theme of this brunch, by the way, was a soft life, like get into your soft life. That was the focus of the event. And the theme throughout from people was that women are tired. Like we're tired. We just don't want to do it anymore. We just don't want to do this, whatever this is. Maybe it's like it's for a lot of people, it's like, I don't want to date anymore. I'm done with that. Like they're just like, I give up, right? Some of it is like, I don't want to keep trying to do everything. Some of it is kind of like, you know what, maybe I will just go get married, because at this point I need somebody to help me do X, Y, and Z, because I don't want to do that, right? There was so much of, as people think about leaning into this soft life idea where you're doing more of the things that matter to you and what kind of supports you, that a lot of it was like letting go of all of this like pressure essentially to do everything, because no one wants to do everything. It's too much. Like you can't do it. And so I would say that the takeaway, or at least what, if anybody were to hear, like, you know, that's, you know, what do women want? Women want support. Like women don't want to do everything on their own. They need people to step up, particularly if they're in they're looking for a hetero relationship. And in some cases, it's not even that. If you are a dad or a brother, an uncle or a friend, like support women in what they're doing. Like have conversations with them. Tell them that you'll go grab the truck and pick something up. Like the whole notion that feminism meant that you could never pick up something heavy or reach for something for a woman because that's going to offend them. That doesn't apply to every woman, right? Like you should just ask. And if they'll tell you yes. Like it seems to be such a simple concept, but it's that, like, it's like being in the store and you're just like, I'm 5'4", I can't reach it. You see me. like just some of it is kind of like, I feel like we've gotten so far from, there's this battle between tradition and modernism about like we get to be. And I think there's this kind of force that says, well, if it's not this, then I just won't do anything. And everyone's taking a step back. Well, like, I just don't know what to do. So we're all going to kind of be in our own little bubbles, and it's not working. I think we're losing too much connection because of that. And so at this point, everybody come back together and help each other. And so we all get a break, and we all don't feel so apart and so separate.
Right. Right, absolutely. I know Swatina said she was jumping at 9. So Swatina, do you have anything you want to share with us?
Yeah, I was just like thinking about, listen to everyone's stories and how we haven't gotten to talk about women's emotions at all and how they haven't been supported. I wanted to really quickly touch upon what Barbara's doing, how great that is, because I think for us, we're all learning how to emote. And we're learning how to function with our emotions and who we are and learn all of that now at this age. And we weren't taught those things as children. As children, we wanted to cry, or we were like any type of upset emotion. It was always like, don't do that, in school, wherever, like you could not, emote properly. And it's taken us to go, this is not great. I need to know who I am. I need to know how I can function better. And I think there's a lot of people out there who are still under this, unaware bubble of, I'm fine. I'm doing everything totally perfectly fine. And when they don't fully understand themselves, and we were never taught to understand ourselves, we weren't taught to understand our emotions, to check in with ourselves, who we are, because that's where we kind of learn what bothers us, what emotions come up, teaches us who we are. And we don't learn that. My personal belief from schooling is it doesn't teach you real life. It teaches you things that you don't ever end up using as often as you would to know how to emote. So for me, I think one of the topics at some point can be like how we can get support emotionally so we could continue to fall into our womanhood. Because I think we've been rejected our emotions, and we've been labeled too dramatic or too sensitive or too emotional. And it has had us go, okay, I'm going to be smaller. My emotions are going to be smaller. I'm not going to talk about this thing. And that's not, that doesn't create the safety that Paul was talking about, that, that doesn't create understanding yourself, that what Barbara's talking about. Or, just the support that Crystal was talking about. It's not, all of that comes down to, how do I feel? Do I feel all of these things to be myself? So yeah, I think like emotion was a part of the conversation that we haven't gotten to, but there's just so many layered topics in this conversation.
Well, we're gonna be talking about this the whole entire month.
Oh, so, that's great. So yeah, there's so many layers to this.
Yeah.
Because it goes down to like, the double standards, to schooling, to what women allow other women to do, social media. There's so many layers for women to even understand what they want.
Exactly. It's so big, right?
Yeah,
but
it's so
that's
big.
the reason why I made it big. So we didn't stay safe, right? Because a lot of times when we pick a small little piece of this complex picture, we stay safe because we're going to stay in this box. I could have said what women want out of relationships. So what women want out of, a family. But when you say what do women want, it makes your gears go, well, wait, what do I want? How many things do I want? And you think about how you limit to yourself, because like, yeah, what do I want? And you're like, I've been surfacing, I've been living on the surface level for so long that I don't even know to the furthest extent of who I am, how much or what it is that I want. And I like that we're talking about self-discovery. And I like that we're talking about getting to know ourselves, because it's important. And the other thing about emotions, and thanks Swatina for bringing that up, the other thing about emotion is when we learn new language about emotions, we learn new words to use to share emotions, because we stick to sad, angry, happy, excited. There are so many other words to express how we feel. And so when we get to learning those new words, we get to now be more intentional about sharing how we feel, because now the words are different. Now we're saying, you know what, I feel indifferent, I feel vulnerable, I feel unsafe, I don't feel balanced. Like Barbara said, I want to be covered. How many men have heard women say, I want to be covered? Go. Or how many, and you know, I want to be covered. That is what? That's huge. That's a whole chat in itself,
Yeah.
right? So
I was
learning
also
new
gonna
words.
quickly say that women are taught to, be compassionate and care about other people's feelings. We're taught to share. We're taught to be like, oh, you have to worry about what he wants to do and what his dreams are. Men aren't taught the same way. And it is our responsibility to teach them if we want them in our lives. And they have to be open to it. There's just so many generations of men have been so used to just being in this single-minded, independent, like nothing I do really affects anybody else, and if it does, it's for their good. And that thought process needs to slowly be shifted. And it's up to, sadly, us to shift it. Not allow that to, don't give them the amount of grace that, they've had their whole lives, unfortunately.
That gives me an idea. I think I want to have a few men on to talk about what they think women want.
I'll add one of that.
And before we wrap, anyone else want to share something else? Like I said, we have we're going to be talking about this all month, but I don't want to leave until, well, we're not going to be here all night, but I do want to be able to have folks share a little bit about like something that they were burning inside to talk about that we might not have touched. Anybody want to share?
I just want to add that, so the world that we're living in, the society that we're living in, is not built for us, right? History tells us that the world was not built for us to be seen and heard. And so now we're fighting against something that was not created for us in the first place. And that's why it's such a struggle. And so listening to what everybody said, I will add that being women, and as we're learning what we want, right, we need to like pick out the support. Like, don't wait for someone to offer support to you, because the world wasn't created for them to notice that we need support, and that's why they're overlooking us, right? And so I have learned now, right, being a recently divorced woman, I've learned that I need to reach out. Yes, I could learn how to build furniture, but I don't want to. That's not what I want to do with my time. I have no interest in doing that. So if I have support, right, I'm at a point now where I text my brother just the Amazon thing that it's coming on Thursday. He texts us back, I'll be there on Friday. Like, he already knows that this is your job. I'm not doing that. I could learn. I'm a very intelligent woman, but I just choose not to. Right? Because out of all of the things that I choose to bring on, whatever the stress or worry, that's not one of the things I want to care about. Right? And being a psychotherapist, I could not go without saying, please, if you need mental health support, reach out for mental health support. We are trained, right, from way back when, to keep our mouths shut and just deal with what we're dealing with. And that's why we are sick. That's why we are dying. That's why we are not well. That's why we are mentally ill. That's why we are breaking down. That's why we are tired, as Crystal said. Go out and get what you need, right? Even as a therapist, I had to get therapy, right? And so you reach out and you get the support that you don't wait for someone to offer it to you, because it's there.
And don't be resistant to it. I know that I sometimes can be a little I don't want to say independent, but I resist it out of fear that someone will think that I'm dependent on them, because that's another narrative that's out there that, when you're asking for support, you're needy, or you're clingy, or you're one of these other words that doesn't serve us in a way of feeling safe and vulnerable to ask for support. And learning myself, and this is an area of growth for me, being willing to take that risk to ask for support and have it come, right? And not feel guilty for asking for support, being like, okay, you decided to support me, so therefore that was, you know, that was a willingness of yours, and I being okay with that. Like, I needed support, I asked for it, I got it, and not feeling guilty, like, oh, you know, I don't want to ask nobody for nothing, because the reality is, you do want support. Most of us do. So thank you for sharing that. Again, anyone else want to share before we wrap? Nicole, you're pretty quiet, and I know you are not a quiet person.
What made this interesting for me was the actual question. What do we want? The first thing I sent to you was like, are you talking about life, career, relationship? Like, what are you talking about? And you had me literally, I did a list of notes in my notepad of life, career, relationship. And then I went in deeper, friends, foes. You know what I mean? Like, and then it made me realize, damn, at 45, if you looked at me in my life years of the life that I've had, it's not 45. We're looking at least 60s, 70s. You know what I mean? And I think that that's something that has been ingrained in us from childhood. And I think if we heal that little girl from way back when, so many things will be so much easier for us to get to love ourselves and others, because there's a lot of hate out there. And I think there's a lot of hate out there because people are just hurt and angry. And hurt people hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I can go on and on with this, but I think that's enough.
Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate you sharing. So I thank you for that. And like I said, I wanted the title, I wanted the topic to get you to thinking. But I have one last statement to leave you all with. I heard what you want. I heard you think about the ways that you want it. What are you willing to do moving forward to have it? You know, I want you to think about that. You don't have to have the answers right now, because a lot of times we already know what we want, but we are so afraid and anxious to go out there and get it and do the things we need to have it, out of fear that it will not come, that fear of rejection, that fear of abandonment, you know, that door closing, that no on the other side of that question, right? Whether it's a career, a relationship, financial health, mental health. We want these things. We, like Nicole said, she read a whole list. A lot of us have lists. I think Steve Harvey had said he has this video on YouTube where he was like, I think he's 500 things that you want. And a lot of people are like, 500, I can't come up with 500 things I want. He said, if every day you just write down what you want in that notebook every day. You don't have to write all 500 in one day, but keep writing what you want, what you want, what you want. And read it back to yourself. Because we have what we know what we want. We're just so afraid to ask for it. So afraid to take the steps to have it, because we're afraid we're not going to get it, because we were told we can't. But I want us to now challenge ourselves to think about all the things we want as outrageous and ridiculous, or never happened before, extraordinary, spontaneous. You know, nobody's ever heard of wanting this in their lives. I don't care what it is. If you want it, do what you need. Think about what you need to have in order to have it. So I want to thank all you ladies for joining me tonight for Monday Night Chat with SK. I want y'all to say happy birthday to Monday Night Chat, 2 years old, for baby Tyler.
Birthday.
And I'll see you all next week if you join me for another conversation about what women want. It is Women's History Month, so honor yourself, honor your experience as a woman. Decide who you want to be, your essence as a woman, what kind of contribution you're making as a woman in the world, who you're showing up as a woman, what other women you want to connect with, whether they're youth or elder, whatever it is that you want. I want us to leave the month of March with an essence that is so powerful, that it shifts society, that it shifts the narrative that has bombarded us and held us captive for so long. We are now going to be change agents. We're now going to be shapeshifters. We're going to shift the narrative. We're going to heal those inner children, like Nicole said. We're going to heal those little girls that weren't taught. We're going to teach them. And we're going to heal them, and we're going to love them so that we can love on ourselves and then love others. So everybody have a wonderful night. And once again, thank you so much for joining.
Good night, ladies.
Good night.
Shimona, before you cut, I know you can stop recording, but can we just share information before we go? Just so I can follow
Absolutely.
everybody?
You can share your information now on camera. Everybody can put it in the chat. They can say it out loud, whatever you want to do.
Oh, that works
Whatever
too.
you wanna-
I can share mine. I'll put it in the chat also, but I'm on Instagram at Crystal's Clarity, Crystal with a K, Crystal's Clarity. And then my website is grantedclarity.com. But I also put the newsletter, so grantedclarity.com/newsletter. I want people to see, just come listen, come talk to me. So that's my information.
All right. Anyone else want to share out loud? I see everybody just put it in the chat box.
I corrected mine in the chat box. I had missed the underscore before, but it's Barbara B _therapy on Instagram, and it's also at Barbara B Music on Instagram.
Yeah, Barbara's a singer, y'all. She got music out. Go find her. She be singing about those emotions.
I sure do.
And Swatina has a business as well. Swatina, you want to talk about your business before you
Yeah,
go?
we have a quick couple. We have New Self, which is a health and wellness movement business. And we also have a home decor. So if you guys like how my place looks behind me, we've done that all from scratch, and I put all the information in the chat. So you guys can take a look at that.
Awesome. Anyone else want to shout themselves out, share what they're up to?
And
Share
we
their
also
business?
have sorry, I forgot. I'm just
Mhm.
a long list of just,
Go
dreams
for
here.
it.
We have a nonprofit called Rooted Emergence, where we will be teaching children about emotions and the earth and nature and how to connect with themselves this summer. So
Awesome. Love it. Love it.
I'll put the website there for you guys too. If you
Thank
guys
you.
want to donate all of that, that'd be great.
All right. Anyone else want to share? Nicole, you want to share what
Well,
you're
I'm on
up to?
Instagram, NV Pacheco on Insta. I'm Nikki Nick in TikTok, on Facebook. It's my full name, Nicole Pacheco. So everything is there on the chat.
All right. All right. So if everybody, all hearts and minds are clear, we're gonna say goodnight. All right, good night, everybody. Thanks again for joining. See you all soon.
Bye-bye.